Hey, you know what would make your customer service help desk way better? Dumping it and then switching to intercom. But you're not quite ready to make that change. We get it. That's why Finn, the world's leading AI customer service agent, is now available on every help desk. Finn can instantly resolve up to 80% of your tickets, which makes your customers happier and gets you off the customer service rep hiring treadmill. Finn by Intercom, the leading customer service AI agent, now available on every help desk.
7 things you don't really need to know, but probably should. I'm Keir, and this is the Sunday 7.
On this week's award-winning Sunday 7, we look at the UK government's plan to supercharge AI, changes to how obesity might be measured, and hear about the latest advancements in treatment for patients with Parkinson's. Plus, Will Guyatt, the Smart 7's resident tech guru, gives us details about the Switch 2 announcement, and we dive into the AI scam the internet's been talking about all week. If you're enjoying our episodes, please do like and follow us wherever you get your podcasts from. And remember, we're here 7 days a week with the 7 biggest stories you need to know every morning at 7 a.m. on the Smart 7. Before we start, though, it was on this day in 1785 that the first Irish manned balloon flight happened. Richard Crosby made history in a hydrogen-filled balloon and drew crowds of onlookers inspired by earlier flights in France and England. The tech landscape in the UK is about to transform after Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer unveiled a blueprint of how his government will integrate artificial intelligence. He discussed the benefits of using AI across various sectors.
AI can help teachers plan lessons tailored to your children's specific needs. If you're worried about waiting times, aren't we all? AI can save hundreds of thousands of hours lost to missed appointments, because it can identify those on the list most likely not to turn up and help get them the support that they need, maybe change for a more convenient appointment. It can spot potholes quicker, speed up planning applications, reduce job centre form filling, help in the fight against tax avoidance, and almost halve the time that social workers spend on paperwork. Incredible. And yes, there will be teething problems. Of course there will. But we can't lose sight of the vast potential here.
There are also plans to increase the amount of AI computing power under public control and build a brand new supercomputer at a location yet to be decided. The Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology, MP Peter Kyle, explained the plans.
As part of our plan of change, an AI Opportunities Action Plan, that will create AI growth zones, investment zones right around the country. We've created a new council so we can bring the voice of AI into the energy future strategic planning of our country, and we've also unveiled £14.5 billion worth of investment into our economy that's coming in today. That's on the back of £24 billion of investment into AI since we took office 6 months ago. So when you say magic, there is investment in the tens of billions that are going into our economy now because of the actions of this government. Now, in terms of how AI will unfold, we are not going to sit on the sidelines. We are going to be active participants using the power of government to make sure that all communities from around the country benefit from the infrastructure, and then all people, all industries, and then government itself benefits from the power of AI going forward.
Ivana Bartoletti is the Global Chief Privacy Officer at the IT company Wipro. She spoke to the BBC about how AI gathers its information for various things.
Yeah, look, the main issue about artificial intelligence is that it needs a lot of data. And especially the new technologies, especially generative AI, which is when you can create video, text, they are built by scraping a lot of data out of the web. And there are very much questions that are still open. So privacy, but also copyright, on which the UK has launched a consultation. Now, the issue is how the UK can invest on privacy-preserving technologies, on anonymization that really works, so that people can trust giving their data or sharing their data. Data is a public asset. It's really important to remember that, but it has to be treated with extreme care.
She also addressed plans to use clean power and form a new AI Energy Council to address criticisms on how environmentally friendly using AI on such a mass scale is.
One element that is important is to also find the niche where the UK can really lead globally. So, for example, the big call on how we can green data centers, how we can make them responsible, we can make it sustainable.
Skeptics worry widespread use of AI could lead to unintended consequences, including job losses, increased surveillance and erosion of privacy. Dr. Maxine Mackintosh is an expert in AI and health at the Alan Turing Institute and thinks technology is helpful in certain medical settings.
AI in healthcare particularly lends itself to imaging. Imaging is often one of the best use cases that we see for sort of low risk AI with high accuracy. Whereas if you say come into your GP and say, oh, I'm feeling a bit low, what can you do? There's so much other data around that you need to understand.
Stephany runs Beam. They already provide artificial intelligence for welfare services in the UK. Here's how the system works.
So traditionally, it would be a lot of pen and paper, and in every meeting with a resident, a social worker would be having to write everything down, head in a notepad, back to the office, type it all in. Really time consuming and, truth be told, not that much fun for anyone. What happens with Magic Notes is they sit down with the individual, they press a button, the AI, they get consent, the AI then records it, and it produces the paperwork that is required for that specific meeting. It emails to the social worker can then check it, improve it even still, and then save it in their system.
It's been a busy week in tech news with gaming announcements, concerns around privacy and a glimpse into the scammer side of artificial intelligence. Joining us to dissect it all is the man I want to play Mario Kart with, the Smart 7's tech guru, Will Guyatt. So we chatted about Nintendo Switch 2 a little bit last week, but now it has officially been released. Please tell us everything you know, Will.
In classic Nintendo form, they released a 2.5-minute trailer at 1 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon with zero warning, but a week or so after a load of unintentional leaks and reveals at the Consumer Electronics Show in Vegas, where a 3D printed mock-up was revealed by an accessories company and businesses were already flogging kit and cases. The trailer starts with an original Nintendo Switch, and suddenly the screen grows in size and the case of the console transforms, adding an all-important extra USB-C socket and a cool-looking rear stand. The Joy-Con controllers get bigger soon, and then seem to run off like a computer mouse, which is a rumoured new feature. You then get around 20 seconds of a still technically unannounced Mario Kart game, which will end up being the sequel to Mario Kart 8, which was the best-selling game on Switch. It looked more like a cartoon than ever before and appeared to show 24 karts racing at once. Fans are currently losing their mind over a 0.4 second reveal of Donkey Kong, the giant monkey, who appears to have had a next-generation console glow-up. And just as quickly as it started, this trailer ended by promoting a Nintendo Direct event on April the 2nd, where games and release dates and further information will be revealed. And depending where you live, you won't have to wait long after that to get your hands on the console, as the World Tour begins on April the 4th and gets into London on April the 11th. We still don't know when the console was released and how much it will cost, but like the Loch Ness Monster, we now know it's real.
Do you think the pressure is on not to suffer second Switch syndrome after the Wii U?
Definitely. I've still got memories of the Wii U following the mega popular Wii and the PS Vita following the incredible PSP. The very fact that Nintendo's called it Switch 2 and built a console that carries forward many of the features that made the Switch successful shows they're attempting to keep that warm feeling and billions of dollars generated by the console still pumping in. Gamers wanted a bigger screen and a technology bump after around 8 years since the original Switch was launched, and based on the 2 minutes and 22 seconds we've seen so far, their wishes will come true.
In other news, the US National Security Agency has issued a new warning about disabling location tracking on your phone. What's their worry? And should we be worried too?
By now, you probably know that your smartphone knows where you are and where you've been, but for some, this is only an issue when it starts revealing this information to others. Loads of us have disabled tracking on our iPhone or Android device, but now the US security agency, the NSA, has warned users that they're now being targeted by a series of tools created by an advertising company, which have been hacked. And this means you can be tracked even when your phone's location tracking is disabled. This is all down to a ridiculously titled location service called Gravy Analytics, who've been hacked, and a literal treasure trove of our private data has been dumped onto the internet. The data comes from app servers rather than from the phone yourself, and your information is shared with ad sales brokers in real time so they can sell targeted advertising that you see on your phone. Now, a security researcher claims they were able to identify users in locations like the White House, Kremlin, and even the Vatican in seconds just after this data leak. The NSA has published a big list of affected apps because lots of companies use Gravy Analytics software and tools. You'll find stuff in there like the dating sites Tinder and Grindr, huge games like Candy Crush and Temple Run, and there's even Yahoo's email and Microsoft's 365 Office app. And in the irony of all ironies, many popular VPN companies have got their software in their apps, which means people who downloaded software to protect their privacy have actually compromised it. There are some decent guides online if you want the best version of protecting yourself, but in short, apps aren't allowed full location data usage and then disable advertising permissions on your device to the greatest extent possible. That limits ad tracking and means you should reset your advertising ID on a weekly basis. That's particularly important on Android devices. After all of this, Gravy Analytics have confirmed in a terse statement that an investigation is ongoing. I bet it is.
Are ads and sharing our information just a part of being on the internet now?
It is a sad fact of life because if you disable all of these settings on your device, the experience just won't be as smooth, as certain web pages can't cope without being pumped full of advertising. And there's a bigger issue here in that we're perhaps being tracked in ways we didn't even know about, and that's a bigger issue for many of us in 2025. Just be transparent and honest. If you're following us on the internet, tell us how you're doing it.
There's been a lot of chatter online this week about a French woman and her love affair with an AI Brad Pitt. What's been going on, Will?
A 53-year-old interior designer has been conned out of around €830,000 of her own cash because she thought she was sending money to a cancer-ridden Brad Pitt. With fake documents, AI-generated photos and other materials, the woman believes she was talking to and then in a relationship with the Hollywood star. This started in February 2023 on Instagram when she got an email from Brad's mum. The scammer sent love notes and poetry and then even pretended to be Pitt's manager and then his daughter. Inevitably, conversations turned to money after Anne revealed that she had recently divorced, and soon she was asked for money to pay customs bills and then for kidney cancer treatment because the Hollywood star was involved in a bitter divorce battle with Angelina Jolie. Anne realised she wasn't in a relationship with the star when Pitt went public with his latest relationship last summer.
What are the regulations around AI impersonations? Will anything come about off the back of this?
There are currently no specific laws around the use of AI impersonations. This technology is just moving too quickly. But laws will likely kick into place over the next year or so. The first in the EU, which would mean that people like Anne would be protected in France before here in the UK. But with the rapid rise of this deepfake technology, this law urgently needs to catch up.
Still to come from Sunday 7, Apple's Tim Cook tells us all about his time in the UK and his retirement plans, or lack of them. Parkinson's disease is a progressive neurological disorder that primarily affects movement as it gradually damages nerve cells in the brain, which means a reduction in dopamine leading to tremors and restricted movement. It generally affects people over 50 and there's no cure, but there are treatments being developed, including a new process called adaptive deep brain stimulation. This week sees the first treatments using the programming being deployed in the UK. Treatments will be tailored to each patient's unique brain activity and could help manage how the disease impacts people both in hospitals and at home. Performing the programming is Mohammed Akbar Hussain, a consultant neurosurgeon. We spoke to him about how this technology could change the way Parkinson's, which impacts movement, mental health and sleep, is managed. So, Mr. Hussain, how does it work?
If you use it in the right way, and we've developed an algorithm, you are able to record when the patient has poorly controlled Parkinson's and when the patient is getting sufficient and adequate stimulation in order to control the symptoms. Unfortunately, due to the limitations previously, we were only able to set the parameters of stimulation for the patient's average needs throughout the day. So if there was any fluctuations in the morning or any change in stimulation needs in the evening or even hour by hour, we couldn't adjust for that because the only way that would be possible is if I had stayed with the patient in their home or if they were able to program themselves. However, with this new adaptive stimulation software to allow it to read the abnormal signals itself and then ramp up or bring down the stimulation as needed.
How will it actually improve patients' lives?
Not only are we able to now stimulate, we can read, we can learn and adapt as the brain needs. What we think this will do is make that extra little bit of improvement in their symptom control. Maybe give them a better night's sleep, maybe reduce the amount of tension they have in their arms, maybe reduce the fluctuations throughout the day that they get in terms of how good the therapy works. At its most minimalistic level, by reducing the stimulation when they don't need it and increasing it only when they do, this is bound to have an effect on the battery life and how often they need to recharge their batteries.
And do you think it could become more widely used?
Whether or not this technology becomes commonplace in the future is dependent on us as clinicians. And if we can do this, we can then develop an algorithm or a pathway that could be followed by centres throughout the UK. We don't have long-term data, and as part of any sort of new innovation that we adopt, we always look to record, evaluate, and make sure that we are doing the best by the patient and learning from the new technology and not just adopting it blindly. We will then learn in the long term how effective this new technology really is and the best way of implementing it for our patients.
We've been given a rare glimpse into the life of Apple CEO Tim Cook after he joined pop star Jessie Ware on a podcast she hosts with her mum. During Table Manners, a show they recorded over dinner in Clapham, London, the Californian shared his interesting approach to work-life balance and what 5 a.m. looks like for him.
Generally, what I'm focused on in the morning is responding to employees and customers. And so I get an extraordinary amount of outreach from customers, and they're telling me things that are critical in their lives. Maybe they're telling me a story of how the Apple Watch saved their life.
While visiting the UK, he was looking forward to meeting someone in particular.
I've never met the King.
Yeah.
And the fact that he's coming to Apple Battersea is such a huge deal for all of our team, and he's done so much from a sustainability point of view, and that's one of our core values. And of course he does a lot for the youth as well, and we work with them on the King's Trust.
And the 64-year-old tech leader also shared his thoughts on retirement.
I don't see being at home doing nothing and not intellectually stimulated and thinking about how tomorrow can be better than today, and I think I'll always be wired in that kind of way and want to work. I mean, I was working when I was 11 or 12.
Yeah. Still to come on the Sunday 7, Blue Origin's rocket reaches orbit for the first time during its first launch, and it turns out spiders can get scarier.
Right after this.
Hey, you know what would make your customer service help desk way better? Dumping it and then switching to intercom. But you're not quite ready to make that change. We get it. That's why Finn, the world's leading AI customer service agent, is now available on every help desk. Finn can instantly resolve up to 80% of your tickets, which makes your customers happier and gets you off the customer service rep hiring treadmill. Finn by Intercom, the leading customer service AI agent, now available on every help desk.
Welcome back.
The topic of obesity is under more scrutiny this week as experts question traditional measures like BMI and discuss the rise of weight loss drugs. BMI stands for Body Mass Index, and it's based on a simple formula that calculates a number based on height and weight, but it's proven to be ineffective, particularly for those who are taller or particularly muscular. Danish scientist Professor Lotte Knudsen was behind research that helped develop products like Ozempic and Wegovy. She spoke to BBC Radio 4 today about why she thinks appetite-regulating drugs are important.
Obesity is very complex. For some, there's genetic factors underlying why you have obesity. For some, there's hormonal factors, there's psychiatric factors. So it's just a really, really complex environment. Combine that up with the fact that maybe our food environment isn't the healthiest compared to what it was if we go back 100 years, where most only natural ingredients were available. So no, I wouldn't say we're giving up, but it's getting harder for people.
And while BMI has been used as a standard health measure for decades, critics have been arguing that it oversimplifies the issue of weight for a while. A report published in the Lancet Diabetes and Endocrinology journal says the term is medically flawed. Chairing the group was Professor Francesco Rubino from King's College London.
Well, it is in fact not an accurate tool to for disease diagnosis. It does give an idea about the health risk, especially at the level of the population, much less at the level of an individual, but certainly doesn't tell us if our organs are working normally and in fact if we have a situation of health or illness. And that's why we're proposing that a new clinical diagnosis that is not just a classification but something that can be used in the clinic. Excess body fat can affect many organs, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys, the liver. And can do so in very specific ways, causing impairments of these organs that have signs and symptoms. And so we can detect those impairments by looking at specific signs and symptoms and then make a diagnosis that has clinical relevance.
2, 5, 4, 1. Lift off.
That's the sound of New Glenn, a 320-foot tall rocket finally launching earlier this week. Designed to test advanced communications and navigation technologies, it was originally set for a 2020 launch, but has only reached orbit. It's Blue Origin's first flight, the private space company founded by Jeff Bezos, and was delayed due to technical challenges and manufacturing issues. The Franklin Institute's chief astronomer Derek Pitts discussed the differences between privatised and government-funded space missions.
The way in which these two companies have been working, Blue Origin and SpaceX, have been remarkable in that they've used an iterative process where they build an article, they fly it, see what the problems are, correct, and then launch immediately again to get to a successful product. So they've actually done extraordinarily well, and they've done it at a much lower cost. They've also been able to do it at a much more advanced schedule, and they've also been able to do it without the intervention of Congress cutting budgets for the agency. They've been able to do it on the auspices of the owners of the companies that are both two of the richest men in the world.
A new species of funnel webs, the most venomous spiders in the world, has been discovered in Australia. Deadlier and larger than others, the Newcastle big boy was found in the north of Sydney. Lucky for everyone, it was discovered by an expert, Keir Christensen from the Australian Reptile Park.
I looked at it and it just blew my mind. The sheer size of it for a male of that species it's just astronomical how big it was. The fangs are definitely a lot longer. That could equate possibly to a deeper penetrating, even through a glove possibly, and the amount of venom injected. They have control over the amount they give you, but the amount could be quite substantial compared to the regular Sydney funnel web.
He took it to the Australian Museum, where Professor Chris Helgen is the director.
This is an amazing moment in spider biology. This is, the most venomous spider in the world, and we are pretty excited.
This has been the Sunday 7. Wherever you're listening, do us a favour and hit the follow button. We'll be back tomorrow at 7 a.m. with the regular Smart 7. Have a great rest of your weekend. Written, produced and published by Daft Doris.
There's one thing that will forever change the way you sleep, and it's the softest 100% organic cotton bedding from Boll & Branch. You'll fall asleep faster wrapped in the most luxurious comfort. You'll never sleep hot again with airy blankets, cloud-like duvets, and breathable sheets. You'll experience pure comfort on night one and feel your bedding get softer with every wash. Discover the difference with 15% off your first order at bollandbranch.com with code BUTTERY. Exclusions apply. See site for details.